Welcome back to Season 4 of the Sober Motivation Podcast. Join me, Brad, each week as my guests and I share incredible and powerful sobriety stories. We're here to show sobriety is possible, one story at a time. Let's go. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. Brad here. August 13th is my birthday, 38 years, young or old. Depends which way you look at it, I guess. On your birthday, you're supposed to get stuff. Hopefully I will a little bit later after dropping this episode, but I think it's important too to give. You know, I mean, that's a big whole part of this sobriety journey is about helping others and giving back. And for me anyway, it's living completely the opposite way of when I was struggling, of being selfish and just worried about my own needs. I mean, part of this life for me over the years has been, how can I help others? Which in turn really helps me. So here's an episode for today, really incredible conversation. And I was just thinking of that one person out there. You know who you are. You back and forth with drinking, substances, not drinking, substances, that whole cycle. Very relatable to me anyway. And I know a lot of the listeners too, and I think very relatable to them as well. What's really interesting is that a lot of people, even a week before they got sober, they had no idea that they were going to get sober. And maybe even the day before. They didn't know like that last drink would be their last drink. And I can't say forever because I don't have a crystal ball that tells me what's going to happen down the road. But now they've put years together. And I say that because I think it's encouraging in the sense that you might be fighting the biggest struggle of your life right now and you don't see any way out. I've been there. I lived there for years. I mean, I had just fully accepted that this was my life in addiction, and that's how I would die. Probably sooner rather than later. I wouldn't have had a long stretch into my 50s or 40s or 60s or whatever it was. Everybody I talked to said 25. You'll be lucky, extremely lucky to make it past 25. But people didn't even know a week ahead of time or a day before that they were going to make this big change. And I say that and I feel it's encouraging because you're in that battle right now where you just can't see a way out. You can't feel a way out. It just feels so impossible. There's no vision forward. But the reality is that it can happen just like that, a snap of a finger. Something changes in your life, a perspective, a connection, a conversation with somebody, stepping outside of your comfort zone, do something a little bit different than what you've always done before. And that could be your first day and you'll look back on it and maybe share that same story. A week before I got sober, I had no idea that that's what it was going to be. And now I look, at 38 years old and with a family, all this stuff. My life's not perfect. I wouldn't sell you guys that dream that I'm some sort of guru and have everything figured out. Far from it. Far from it. I learn more and more each day that I know less and less. And I put myself in those situations on purpose because I want to grow. I want to learn. I want to further the development. So if you're down and out right now and you feel like it's impossible, trust me, that's so relatable. I mean, that impossible feeling, I lived there. A lot of our guests here on the show have. A lot of them are blown away by the progress that they've made with sobriety and with life. So just stay in the fight because it will happen for you too. I've worked with thousands of people over the years, and I just don't see it as something that some people can't get. Like, I think if you put in the work and you show up and you're willing to do something differently and surround yourself with good people that can pick you up and support you and maybe love you until you can learn to love yourself, you can make this happen for your life and for those that are around you that are important to you, whether it be your families or kids or siblings or partners or whoever it is. So just stick with it. Believe in yourself. I always have, maybe by default, a natural ability to believe in others before they can believe in themselves. And sometimes you need that. Maybe find somebody in your life who can offer you that encouragement. But let's get right into Jordan's story. Incredible to connect with her on the podcast. If you guys have any interest in supporting the podcast, I mean, yours truly, I booked a guest, I record it, I edit it, I publish it, social media content, everything, often late into the night. It's kind of my after the family goes to bed thing. I don't watch TV or anything. Hockey season, I watch hockey, but relatively no TV. Sometimes I do. I edit the podcast. I enjoy it. I have a ton of fun doing it, get to meet all the guests. So if you want to contribute and support the podcast in any way with some donations, I'll drop the link down in the show notes, buymeacoffee.com/sobermotivation. Everything is appreciated. And if you're not in a spot, I still love having you. Either way, keep listening. Now let's get to this episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Sober Motivation Podcast. Today we've got Jordan with us. Jordan, how are you?
How are you? I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad we could connect and share your story with everyone.
Yes, I'm excited. I joined Sober Motivation group community about a year ago. And been listening,
Oh, wow.
of course, to your podcast for over 2 years.
Wow, so cool. So what were things like for you growing up?
I had a pretty normal childhood. Actually, both of my parents do not drink. They're sober. My dad being, I think, over 35 years sober, and my mom being about 30 years sober.
Wow.
So I was never raised in a house with alcohol, which was really great. My dad is very musical. I ended up being an artist and getting a record deal, but coming from a town with one stoplight. So it was kind of a culture shock for my upbringing.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that too. 35 years, 30 years. I mean, that's incredible too. Back to the record deal thing. When did that start? When did you know you had a thing as being an artist?
I started writing songs when I was like 8 or 9, and my dad was the one that really noticed that. He thought I was actually very talented. I just thought, wow, I love doing this. I didn't think anybody would hear the songs that I was writing or hear my music. And so my dad paid this producer $100 to record this one song that I had written called Outside Looking In. And after I recorded it, he sent it to like everybody and their second cousin, just everybody for a year. And nothing happened. I didn't think anything was going to happen. And then after a year, somebody heard it and sent it to Hollywood Records. And I was on the next flight to Los Angeles when I was 15. Actually, no, sorry. When I was 14, about to be 15.
Wow. That's awesome. So go back a little bit here. Growing up, I mean, you shared there a little bit too. Things were good for you. I mean, it's always kind of an interesting thing. You've listened to the show you mentioned there.
Yes.
And we always kind of have like, there's kind of two sides to this story, maybe three, right? Maybe some people that fall in the middle. There were good years, there were tough years. Then there's some people who, have it tough right from the beginning. And you shared, things were well. I think a lot of people from the outside, just my conversations over the years, how could things turn out to somebody struggling with this? And I'm sure we'll get to all that part.
Yeah.
What do you think as far as growing up? I mean, was there anything that you noticed?
Yeah. I always tell everybody, like, I had the most perfect childhood. And when I say that, like, I really did. My parents didn't come from a lot of money, but they gave me everything that me and my brother needed. And even though my dad didn't have a lot of money, he still bought every single musical piece, instrument, recording gear, microphones, speakers. I mean, just everything that he thought that I needed. So from that perspective, I mean, like I said, I didn't grow up around alcohol. My parents, I don't remember alcohol in any aspect of my childhood at all. Their friends never drank. I was never around any of that. It only started to be a part of my life, obviously, in my early high school years.
Yeah. What was that like? So, I mean, this kind of 14 high school and you have this opportunity to go. I mean, is that where?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I didn't go off the rails. Of course, the first time I drank when I was 17, I did black out. Which was horrible. But to back up a little bit, 14 to 17, I'm on tour. I dropped out of school in 7th grade. And so from 7th to all throughout high school, I was on a tour bus. And ironically, I didn't drink that whole time.
Yeah.
But when I got off tour when I was 17, I had this, new person that I was interested in, and then had one drink and then blacked out. Don't remember anything.
Uh, what was the whole story of the tour? Like, were you on tour by yourself or with someone else, or how did
So,
that work?
so I got a record deal with Hollywood Records, and my first tour was opening up for the Cheetah Girls. And then directly after that, I went to open for the High School Musical tour. I don't know if you remember, but High School Musical was really big. It was a really big deal with Disney Channel. And I was actually the biggest fan at the time. So the fact that I was even asked to do this as a fan, I was freaking out.
Yeah. Wow. Did your parents go with you then?
My mom did, and then my brother came out during the summer. Obviously, he was in school, and my dad would come periodically. But I spent, 300 days out of every year on a tour bus.
Wow. And then and then you wrap that up there, and then you go back to high school then, or do you start high school
I
at
did
that
high
point?
school. I did high school for about a week, and then I got another call for another tour. So my mom was just like, she's actually a teacher, so she was my homeschool teacher on my tour bus, and yeah, she came with me on the road, and I was on the road until I was about 21
Yeah. Wow.
on
That's
various
not that.
tours.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I mean, especially like you shared there earlier in the story of like you just started out at 8 or 9 or 7 or 8, just kind of getting into it. I don't know if this is going to be a thing, and then it turns into this big thing.
Yeah. And I still feel like that. I feel like I've done a lot of stuff, and I don't really think of myself as that. I just love music. I know who I am, and I still get messages all the time, hundreds of people like, your music has changed my life, and I'm so grateful for that. I don't think of myself as that at all.
Yeah. Oh, I can relate with you on that. So, I mean, 17, you have that experience of drinking come into your life. I mean,
Yes.
did you feel any way about it? Not growing up around it. I was the same way. I never really grew up around it. And I tried it. I pulled, people at school were talking about it. So I pulled the vodka bottle. My parents
Mhm.
were out and
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing though. So I had a swig of that. It's disgusting. But I really didn't have any idea of like alcohol and all that stuff. What was it like for you there kind
It's
of
so
afterwards?
interesting. Like, if you read about any kind of like Disney childhood star, like most of them fall off the wagon and do drugs and drinking. On tour, ironically, I never drank, never did drugs. So it was really funny. It was more like an escape not working. Like I felt like I needed to just like take a breather. But that first party that I went to, the parents were actually serving us alcohol. And I remember it was Taka vodka that I drank, which is in like a plastic bottle, disgusting. And
Jeez.
yeah, I just felt like this was everything that I had been missing in my life when I had that first drink.
Mm. Yeah. A lot of people relate to that too. Like,
Mhm.
it, all the insecurity for me anyway, all the insecurities, everything I was worried about all the time, the anxiety of everything just kind of slid away.
Absolutely. Yeah. I felt like I could conquer the world, even though, that night I ended up, making out with somebody else's boyfriend. And this is a group of people that I had just met trying to be friends with. I didn't really have a whole lot of friends
Yeah.
other than my tour artist friends who didn't live in
Yeah.
Nashville. So it was a whirlwind that night. And I should have known, you woulda, coulda, shoulda, but, I knew from
Yeah.
that night that things were going to change.
Yeah. And so where did things go for you from there?
Like in my life or just in my drinking
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, I didn't, at that point in my life, I would only drink like at parties. Obviously, I was still living with my parents, kind of wanting to move out. I was very independent. I was a very independent kid. But yeah, I would only drink at parties, but most of the time I would black out.
Yeah.
It was great those times that it was like that perfect like buzz. I'd be like, wow, I felt like euphoric, right? Like
Yeah.
you can do anything and be anybody. And I felt like, alcohol was like the missing piece to something that I'd been looking for to make me better, to
Yeah.
make me more fun and, the party girl. It really didn't start to like escalate until I'd say like probably a few years after I got married, like my mid 20s is when my drinking really like escalated. And I even knew back then that, 10 years ago that I had a problem.
Yeah. Which it's interesting you bring that up 10 years. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't want to discourage anybody obviously from the journey,
Hmm.
but that thing of a decade of
Hmm.
when we notice it's a problem to
Yeah.
when we get sober or like, a range, it
Hmm.
seems to be a common trend for a lot of people.
Yeah. It's like this. I always post on my Instagram, but like this inner voice, that little teeny voice that you hear in the back of your head, like, oh, wow, this could be a problem, or maybe this is a problem. And
Mm.
you booze it up so much to like drown out that voice. And for me, that voice just got so loud 2 years ago that I felt like I couldn't live. I couldn't live anymore in the way that I was doing my life.
The way things were going. Yeah,
Mhm.
it becomes really heavy. To fast forward a little bit though, can you walk us through sort of the progression? Because I think that's another thing with alcohol too, is it's
Yeah.
culturally acceptable. It's
Mhm.
everywhere. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, come on, you had a rough day or
Yep.
everything, right? So how does it, because a lot of people too, it's not, I think for the majority, I would feel safe saying it doesn't have all the consequences and destroy our life right away. It's
No.
kind of like
No.
this thing that slowly creeps in. What was that like for you?
Yeah. So, like I said, 10 years ago, I'm 34. So, when I was 24, I would have a lot of instances where I'd have a great time partying. I would literally be the person like buying a round of shots for the bar, closing the bar down with my husband. I had a lot of really fun times. I mean, and I'm sure a lot of people that listen to this feel the same way because alcoholism is a progressive disease. So even though I knew I had a problem 10 years ago, I wasn't ready to face like all my demons. All the internal things that, because alcohol is just a symptom of alcoholism. Like it's all the internal stuff that you don't want to deal with
Yeah.
that makes you keep drinking. So for me, it was, all the times I blacked out. I'd have fun times, then I would black out and have this horrible fight with my husband for 2 hours, and we'd both be drunk, and then we'd not remember what we fought about, but things were weird. And um, getting blackout drunk at a bar and getting into the wrong taxi cab by myself, getting drunk and passing out in my guest bathroom and sleeping in the tub because I couldn't stop vomiting.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of like, it was like trickled. It was like fun times and then all those really bad times kind of in between.
Hmm.
And my husband, actually, I can't remember what he used to say. I think he called it like my dark passenger. Like whenever I would drink, this
Yeah.
like dark version of me would come out in those little pockets, over the course of 10 years. And especially when I was younger, I didn't really care. I was like, I don't give a shit. You're
Yeah.
married to me. You need to love me and you need to accept this because I'm never going to stop drinking. Drinking
Mm.
was, I felt like I could get through life as long as I had alcohol. I mean,
Yeah.
truly, that's what I thought. And I used to put champagne in my water bottles at a job that I used to work
Yeah.
just to make it through the day when I'd be going through really, really, I was actually going through a really hard time, not to like justify it, but it really helped me get through that.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the interesting things about it is there is that element to where, I think whether we want to admit it or not, there is a part of it that is helping us. And it's like you
Mhm.
have those other times too, where you're having good times. And then you also have these other times
Mhm.
that, maybe are not good. Right. I think we've all had them, but I think I was so confused in sort of that middle ground of,
Mhm.
82% of the times are pretty good. This is not disastrous. And then, maybe 18%, if my math is right there, I'm having these other problems, right? I'm noticing that my drinking and the way I drink and the way I go about it was a lot different than my peers around me. But
Yeah.
majority of the time was good. So I kind of think when I reflect back, I found myself in this confusing space of
Mhm.
justifying the drinking to continue because I couldn't imagine a life without it. Oh my goodness, my identity, my friendships, what I did, my social life, everything. And I was just like, oh my goodness, I didn't know anybody who didn't really drink, maybe one person, but they had a really outgoing personality. So they were able, and I was like, I could never be that. So I'll lose all of this stuff of who I am and everything I've built up and become. And, this wild party guy that everybody seems to love. I mean, looking back, it was just entertaining for them at my expense. But yeah, and then you cover up all that other stuff that maybe we don't want to look through. And yeah, I mean, I knew from the beginning, my first time, I was like, this is going to be a serious problem. But,
I, I thought
here
the
we go.
same thing. It's so interesting. And I've connected obviously with so many women and men over the course of the last 2 years of my life that all kind of have that same story. Like even down to their first drink, or even 10 years ago or 15 years ago, they knew it was a problem or was going to be a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't,
What kept you?
oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm just wondering too. I mean, with that, what kept you around? What keeps us around with it?
I mean, I think for me, like you said, like it wasn't, the problems weren't outweighing the good. Like I wasn't really, other than like the really bad hangovers or like the guilt and shame, maybe I just didn't have enough self awareness as I do now. But it just wasn't as big of a deal as it is now. I think for me, it became more of a problem becoming a parent. I always say that my daughter, like, literally saved my life. I don't think if I didn't have kids, I would probably be dead.
Yeah, from drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Walk me through your thoughts behind that.
Well, I just think as a woman, your hormones change. Obviously, I just had my second baby who's 6 months old. He's amazing. His name's Jack.
Yeah.
The stakes become really high. Obviously, you have kids, like as my daughter started getting older, I things just started coming to the surface that for my entire life I shoved down. And you can only do that for so long. And I didn't want to wake up one day and be 65 years old and, be, I guess, I don't even know if I really didn't think I was going to make it to 65 if I kept drinking. But
Yeah.
I just felt like I didn't want to be that person and have my daughter see me, her whole entire childhood, see me in that state that I was in.
Yeah. So, and that's so powerful too. My wife and I, we talk about it all the time, just about the generational stuff. And I'm not saying you had this; it was a
Mhm.
different story for you with your parents growing up. But there's a lot of stuff. I saw something that's always two things that always stuck with me when it comes to being a parent. One thing was the parts of yourself that you don't heal, your kids are gonna have to.
Yeah.
That one always kind of stuck out to me when it comes to this whole addiction thing,
Hmm.
especially. And the other one is your kids are going to figure out who you really are someday. And I was like,
Yeah.
when I saw that, I was like, wow, that hits, when they grow up and they're going to say like, hey, you told us one thing, but you did a completely different thing. That terrifies me to ever have
Yeah.
them think I'm somebody I'm not. So it's
Yeah.
like, I have to not be perfect, but also, be
Mhm.
real.
Yeah. Like I got to the point where I didn't like myself. I didn't know who I was. I didn't want to be sober, but I knew I couldn't continue living the life that I was living.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get out of bed. I wasn't eating. I was having severe anxiety. I was having panic attacks every single day. This is at the very, very end of my drinking.
Yeah.
And I went to my therapist, who I had been to for 6 months prior to that. She was a newer therapist. She also saved my life. And at the time, I didn't know she was a sober coach. She never told me about her sobriety or anything like that. But I was kind of like telling her about some problems I was having, kind of sharing a little bit more than I normally would. And she's like, I think you need to take like 14 days off of alcohol because this
Mm.
is giving you anxiety. This is giving you panic. Like, just see how your life is going to be. And so I actually didn't make it 14 days. I made it 12 days. And I can totally say that those 12 days changed my entire outlook on life in such a positive way that I knew that I could not go back to the way that I had been living really for the last like 2.5 years of my life, like binge drinking hardcore every day. It completely changed the trajectory of my life.
Wow, just putting together those 12 days, having that conversation, opening the door, letting
Mhm.
somebody in. Is that
Yeah.
something you did regularly, like sharing with someone vulnerably honest, like
Um,
honestly, or?
no, like, so I was going to my therapist. I had had 5 miscarriages. And so I was dealing with a lot of just hormonal shifts and anxiety surrounding that. And that's really why I saw her to begin with. And I just feel like it was a God thing
Mm.
that she was put into my life, not only for that, but for a bigger calling, which is my sobriety.
Yeah. Wow. It's always wild looking back and seeing how the dots connect in
Yeah,
strange ways, right? For a reason,
it's really
anyway.
cool. And then after that, I, of course, fell off, felt horrible about myself. I was like, this is the worst I've ever felt about myself. And so I was like, okay, I got to try 90 days. Like, I'm not committed to being sober, but I need to do like 90 days and then
Mm.
like all is going to be fixed, right? Because at this point, I wasn't really thinking I was an alcoholic. I just thought I need a change, like personally, physically, mentally, spiritually. Like, I didn't know who I was. It was
Mm.
honestly an out of body experience. I made it 52 days. And that's when I
Yeah.
hit rock bottom. Like, that was like
After the 50.
at the 52 days, I couldn't understand why I couldn't. My whole life was like dedicated to singing and this, not like chase of perfection, but, having discipline. That was my whole childhood, is having discipline, waking up and working out and, singing the best that you can, writing the best songs. And so
Mm.
I'm failing time and time again with this sobriety thing. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Mm.
Why can't I do this?
Yeah.
And, I hit rock bottom. I couldn't leave my house because my anxiety was so bad. I've never felt like that in my entire life. I thought maybe I need to be in a mental institution because
Yeah.
I could not function normally. Um, and I guess 2 weeks after that, September 1st, 2023 is my sobriety date. That's when my life changed forever.
Wow. So you do this. So you do the 12 days the first time. And then is anybody giving you the idea to go at this again? Like, okay, so your therapist mentioned to you 90 days.
Yep.
What are you doing? What are you doing just that? Is it the old fashioned just don't drink or
Yeah. So, like, I'm not doing, yeah, that's a great point. I'm not doing any meetings or anything like that. I don't have any support during the 12 days or the 52 days. I'm just white knuckling it. I'm going on vacations. People are drinking around me. I'm like, holy shit, I can't do this. It was very chaotic and also beautiful. Like, I looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, wow, I see myself again. I was like,
mm,
I want to, I don't know how to hold on to this, but like, I need this, it's like, it's almost like a drug, feeling good about yourself. You're like, wow, this is amazing. So yeah, so September 1st, my sobriety date, 5 days in to my now almost 2 year stint, I joined a sober class and I did a meeting every single day, sometimes twice a day for my first year of sobriety.
yeah. And I'm curious too. Did your husband know that you were committed to this? Like in the others, the 52 days, 12 days?
Yeah, so I think it's at first it freaked him out. He was like, actually, let me back up here. So when I wanted to do the 12 and the 52 days, he noticed a complete shift in me. He's like, this is amazing. You're like going to be the best version of yourself. And then when I started using the term sobriety and sober and I'm never drinking again, our marriage took a really bad turn. Because when one person changes in a marriage, just by default, like the other person has to change, whether they want to change or not.
Yeah.
So we ended up actually separating for about a month and a half. I think when I was like
Mm.
6 or 7 months sober. And it was really, really hard, but it's what we needed to now be the best version of our marriage, now 12 years in, that we've ever been.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point you bring up there too. And I think too, and I don't know if this was the scenario for yourself and your husband, but I hear it a lot. That's kind of how people meet and connect, and that becomes like something to do, right? And then if you're not drinking anymore, it's like, okay, how do we fill all this time? How do we
Mhm.
connect? And it really takes a lot of effort, I think. I mean, it's a beautiful process,
Yeah.
but it takes a lot of effort to connect without it, maybe. I don't know.
I was so
Anything like that?
I was so angry in the beginning too. Like, even though I was so excited to be this new version of myself, I was still angry and wanting to hold on to that person that I had been for so long, even though I hated that person. Alcohol had become like my best friend. Taking that out of our marriage was a huge, like, almost slap in the face to him. He's like, oh my gosh, like, I don't have like my buddy anymore. Like, we can't have wine, or like, he's like, nothing. And I'm like, no, seriously, nothing. And in that time of my life, especially in that first, I'd say 6, 7, 8 months, I really wasn't focused on my marriage at all. It had to be about me. It had to be about staying sober. That was my only goal. And obviously it's paid off. Like, I'm so proud of myself. I never thought in a million years that this would be my life.
Yeah. Which is that's awesome. And I mean, I think that is a big part of the first year, right? It's just kind of
Mhm.
buckling down and don't drink, and
Yeah.
you don't try to change everything overnight type deal.
Yeah.
On the first though, was there a plan in place? Like how did that come to life September 1st?
I remember walking, we do these like family walks, around our neighborhood. We've got like a cute little community. We're located in East Nashville. We're actually moving, but we live in East Nashville right now. We do family walks every night with our kids. And at
Okay.
this point, I remember walking that day and I hadn't drank. I was like, I told him, I said, I have to do 1 year. I got to do 1 year. And he's like, holy shit. Like, I think it really like scared him. He was freaking out, and like I was freaking out too, but I was more committed to having a better life than I'd ever felt like that before. The 12 days and the 52 days, I was like, that's bullshit. Like, I'm doing this. Like, I want this for myself mainly. Secondly, for my kids. And overall, it's just obviously made my whole life. I feel like I came back to life, and I've
Mm,
started this new life now that I've been sober.
yeah. So it was just out on the walk and
Yeah.
just like I have to
Yeah.
commit, that's one other thing I find, I don't know if fascinating is the right word for it or whatever it is, but a lot of people share they never knew really their last day drinking would be their last day drinking. And I think that's so monumental because I think there's people that are thinking the way we once did, right?
Hmm.
My life will never not include alcohol. There's
Yeah.
no way. I can't see it. It's impossible. I'm going to miss out on so much, like all the stuff that we were thinking. And then something changes. And then you go from a day where it's like you're drinking and then the next day you're not drinking and then a couple years has gone by. So I always see that as like encouraging for somebody else. If you're at a spot right now where you're just like, I can't imagine a life without alcohol, stay in the game. It might be
Oh
closer
my
than you
gosh,
think.
for sure. I am embarrassed to say, like, I used to make fun of people that didn't drink, or that I never tried to do like dry January. I never wanted
Yeah.
to take any kind of time off. Like, I just was so addicted to it. I didn't think I could live without it. I'd be, shaky. My face would be all bloated and red every morning. And still, like, it was just the addiction that got the best of me. I do remember my last drink, and I fucking hated it. I had a glass of wine in bed, and every single sip, I was like, fuck you, fuck you. Like, I did
Yeah.
not want to live that way anymore. And I hated it. And I'm so glad I did.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it takes what it takes, right? Looking back before we kind of jump into, what the last couple years have been like for you growing up as, like in Disney and doing all these tours and having a good childhood and a lot of support to kind of go after your dream and all that stuff. What are the thoughts that come to your mind when you look back at that and then where things ended up for you, really leaning heavily on alcohol and in everything too?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I went through a lot of stuff in my childhood, some which I can't talk about, but whether any of that stuff happened or not, just getting a record deal and having to leave school and going on a tour bus, that's pretty traumatic. Not having a quote unquote normal life for
Yeah.
however long, 8, 9, 10 years of my life, just that is traumatic. And I feel like I used alcohol as obviously a way to cope. And then it became a crutch. And then it literally was like something that I would carry in my purse, just in case of emergencies. It was like my freaking EpiPen.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever feel that it happened so quick? Like even though it's like years went by, like went fast or no?
I, I don't want to get emotional. I feel like I wasted so much of like my adult years, even though it's all of it has brought me to here, right?
Yeah.
If I hadn't hit rock bottom, I don't know if I would actually be like completely sober. I'd probably just like have cut back, but I just feel like I wasted a lot of time and now all I have is time. And that's what I'm so grateful for, especially having two kids and being a business owner and being a mom and a great wife. Like the time thing is is something that you can't get back. And I'm just really grateful for that now.
Yeah. No, beautifully put there too. I know that is something that weighs on people too. I think even like I mean, I would say it's safe to say we're relatively young. I'm turning 38 tomorrow. I think you said you were 34 or
Yep.
35.
Yep. 30.
Everything before everything before 40 is practice, they say. But I think it's, I settle into the gratitude of getting to where I did when I did.
Mhm.
Yeah, I see a lot of people around me, and I mean, no judgment towards them, but I
Mhm.
mean, they're kind of riding the wheels off this skateboard, all the way into their 50s and 60s and
My God.
sometimes 70s. So
I
I look at where I'm at, and I'm like grateful.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I'm faced with people who are still binge drinking or, I'm close with people who are in their 60s and 70s, yeah, that are still binge drinking and it blows me away and it just seems so empty. Like, why do it or why are you doing that? It's making you
Yeah,
sick. It's making you unhealthy.
yeah,
It's making you depressed. I mean, all these things that I can look back and say now.
yeah, yeah, and I think too the longer that we lean on it. I think that's the sneaky part with alcohol,
Mhm.
right? Is because the longer we lean on it, the less we lean on stuff that's healthy for us, right? The more
Absolutely.
I have a hard day or something comes up in my life that emotions, right, that are hard for me to deal with. And I'm just like, okay, let's drink instead of yoga's not really my thing, but an example, right? Maybe I'll go for yoga. Maybe I'll go to the gym. Maybe I'll go for a walk.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll write in my journal. Maybe I'll see a therapist.
Yeah.
The more we just lean into alcohol, it's like then decades go by and it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, what's my tool bag is quite empty.
Yeah.
It's
And
just a
like to
bottle.
give you an example, like my marriage, even though we were okay, we were drinking. We weren't really talking. We weren't communicating, because you don't really connect when you're drinking. You think you
Mm,
do, but it's not a genuine connection. And so like my marriage is better than it's ever been. And
yeah,
there's no alcohol in my fridge. It's just like my whole
yeah,
life has changed for just the good. And I don't take any second for granted.
yeah. I mean, if we were at a baseball game, you would have just hit a home run because that's the thing. Alcohol convinces us that we need it to connect.
Hmm.
But then when we get sober and you kind of look back at it through with a clear vision, it doesn't do that at all. It
Hmm.
turns us into people that we're not authentic, we're not genuinely ourselves, and we're just trying to get by and
Hmm.
do what we can and lower our guard a little bit. But it's authentic connection and sobriety that I think brings us closer to people.
Yeah.
In my experience, it's been less people. I grew up with the idea of like being trying to be popular and having a bunch of friends, and like that was what brought value to my life. My
Hmm.
life in sobriety is the four quarters rather than 100 pennies. I would much rather have that. And that is what I do have instead of all of the people and all the chaos and everything else that comes with it is terrifying.
For sure. I mean, I can attest, like, I've lost a ton of friendships. There's people that I used to hang out with every single weekend that I haven't seen since I told I was going sober and never drinking again. At first that kind of stings. And then when you get so far and you're like, oh, yeah, like we didn't really have a genuine connection because we weren't connecting. We were just drinking. We were just drinking friends. And that
Yeah.
was done by design. We hung out with people who fit our lifestyle needs.
Yeah.
And now, I really, same with you, like, I don't really have that many close friends. But the friends that I do have, like, I cultivate those relationships and they're so sacred to me. And the people that genuinely love me love this version of me way better than they ever did 10 years ago.
Yeah. And that's beautiful. So catch us up to speed here. So September 1st, you join a virtual community, you plug in, I mean, being consistent,
Yeah.
which I think is really important, whatever people
Yeah.
choose to do. I mean, whether it's
Yeah.
fellowship, going to church, because the reality is, I mean, we drank for your thing, you're drinking
Mhm.
a lot, you're being consistent in that. So I
Mhm.
think when we're trying to turn this thing around, we got to be
Yeah.
consistent in the other direction. So that helps you. I mean, what else is going on as you kind of go through this first year of sobriety?
Oh gosh. I mean, I honestly, I genuinely didn't really leave my house for the first like 6 months. Like, I rarely left my
Yeah.
house other than to like take my daughter to school. Like, I just, or go, I went to therapy every single week, sometimes twice a week, and my therapist
Mhm.
obviously is a sober coach. So that really, really helped me. Other than that, I didn't do anything. I ate a lot of ice cream. I watched a lot of movies. I listened to a lot of podcasts, your podcast being one of them,
Yeah.
and just did my meetings every single day at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. And what did all of that and that new routine for you? Like, how did that keep you grounded and help you stay on course?
Well, and I forgot to mention one thing. So I love this quote that I just pulled it up on my phone. Alcoholism lives in your head. Sobriety lives in your feet.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that when I was newly sober, and I'm like, you're an idiot. It's so true. I started running on the treadmill. I've always been a runner. I love running. I love working out, and just moving, getting physical, and getting my heart rate up is so important to my sobriety journey.
Mm. Yeah. To help you out too. I mean, with I think mental health too, right? I mean, if
Oh,
we're up top,
100%.
I mean, it helps
Yeah.
out.
I mean, I really work out for my mental health, but I mean, yeah, having the benefit of, having a healthy body is also great. But yeah, it's really more for mental health. Great point.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if there's a few side effects of being in shape, I'll take it.
Exactly.
Uh, what does your husband think about? I'm curious to see anybody's perspective from the outside. And did you let other people know too? Like, hey, I'm going for 1 year.
Oh my gosh. No, not really. I was very secretive. I think I maybe told my neighbor, Carissa, who's still like one of my best friends, and maybe like
Yeah.
two other people. Obviously, having sober parents, my mom really instilled in me, one day at a time. And that's been huge. So every morning that I wake up, I say the same prayer to God. I just say, Lord, give me everything I need to get through my day to day. Amen. And like for a long time, I was disconnected with God because like I was disconnected from everything and everybody, because I was
Mm.
just drinking and drunk all the time. And so that kind of turned into a stronger personal relationship with God, where, in the beginning of my sobriety, I'm talking to God like every second saying, Lord, I really need help. Please help me get through these next 15 minutes. I mean, sometimes it was 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was minute by minute when I was newly sober. That's how bad my addiction got.
Yeah. Was that your relationship with God there you share? Was that something that you had grown up with, going to
Yeah,
church and
I had always
yeah?
gone to church. I'd always been a Christian. And, I had a personal relationship with God. But I think, as you grow up, I kind of not fell away from it, but I just wasn't actively pursuing it in my heart. And I think, when I first got sober, it was in between those 12 and 52 days, God was like, I heard his voice so clearly say, like, you can't live like this, or I can't give you anything that I want to give you. And I'm like,
Mm.
I know, Lord, and that really was powerful to me.
Yeah, wow. I've heard something before. I don't know if the person was relating it to sobriety, but blocking our blessings.
Yes, 100%. Like I
Yes.
was blocking
Yeah.
out. I mean, when you drink, you block out everything.
Yeah.
And I love what somebody said this to me, like the reason why they call it spirits, like it cancels out your own spirit, your own soul.
Mm.
You can't cultivate anything in there because you're just dead in the eyes all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, I, this is a massive tangent that I'm sure we could go down, but I'm always kind of interested too. like how all of this all started. You know, I mean, you get everybody introduced to this, and then you're selling it and making it look like so much fun, and it's
Hmm.
sort of a rite of passage for a lot of people, right? You turn
Hmm.
21, or here in Canada, 19, some
Oh,
places
wow.
18, and it's like what everybody wants to do when the you know what I mean when they turn 19. You have everybody gassed up for like their
Yeah.
first legal drink at 21 or whatever, and it's like, man, I think we're going to look back at this time
Hmm.
in our lives. I think we'll really look back at this time and say, you know what? I don't know if it's that we were fooled, or it'll be something. Well,
I agree.
there'll be something to say like, okay, like that was reckless, how that
I
all
agree.
played out.
I think maybe in 10 years from now, we'll look at alcohol the same way we look at cigarettes, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've definitely heard some chatter with that. I think for
I mean,
sure.
that's great. I can't remember who came out with it. It was maybe what was it? The something general. Anyway,
General surgeon.
yeah, he said like
Okay.
no amount of alcohol is safe. And I felt so good. I
Yeah.
was like, yes, yeah, being sober is awesome. And I was so
Yeah.
glad that that didn't come out when I was like still drinking because I'd be like, fuck you.
Yeah. I mean, even when we're still drinking, I mean, I think it's like probably a mix of denial and maybe
Sure.
delusion of like we see sort of the effects of it, but I think as humans our brain is constantly working to protect us. So even though I knew the destruction of everything,
Mhm.
like I would just say, oh, I mean, of course for them, but never me. I would never, no,
Yeah.
it'll never happen to me. I'll never have any
Yeah.
problems with
I do remember who he's a client of ours. He got sober and in my company. He got sober and I just remember thinking, I'm like him. I have a problem and I'm gonna have to get sober someday. But today is not that day. And I ended up at the liquor store. you know.
yeah,
But I just remember
yeah,
feeling that I think it was like 5 years ago. I was like, oh wow, like that sucks for him. That's
yeah.
gonna be me someday, but today is not that day.
Today is not it. Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you on that. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that. I wanted to talk really quick before we wrap up too
Yeah.
about your business venture and everything and what that experience is like, because I know a lot of people are nervous when they get sober, like, am I going to be able to ever be around alcohol again, or
Yeah.
how is that going to look? Like, you want to share on that a little bit?
Yeah, my husband and I created a company called the Arrow Bar. We've been in business 8 years, and then he also has a sister company named Arrow Build, where he manufactures mobile trailers. When we first started our company, we just thought it was going to be like a side hustle. I mean, our mobile trailer that we built lived in our backyard. We never thought it would be
Okay.
like our business, like full time. And so, anyways, yeah, I mean, being around alcohol, obviously, I guess when I first got sober, I was really nervous about that aspect of it. I guess now I think of it like maybe I compartmentalize really well, almost to a detriment, which is great. But we're in the service industry. My job is to make my customers happy. I don't really correlate the two of like the alcohol drinking portion. I'm thinking of it as like a full service thing, like making sure my staff look great and make great drinks. And obviously we serve coffee as well, coffee and espresso. But just delivering a great service is kind of where I think about it. But yes, initially I was very nervous about being around alcohol and what that looked like for my sobriety. Maybe it would hurt my company if I shared my sobriety journey. And it hasn't.
Mhm.
I actually think I'm a better boss, better business owner. I'm overall just a better human being being 100%
Yeah.
sober.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing that too. Yeah, and I mean, I think that we level up in so many ways, and there's levels to it. I think you
Hmm.
can probably agree that where you were 1 year ago, you've made a lot of progress since.
Hmm.
I think the other thing with drinking is, I can only speak for myself, obviously, but I didn't really make a whole heck of a lot of progress for maybe a couple of years, and in sobriety, I can always see sort of
Oh my
milestones and,
gosh.
and growth.
I've done more in the last 2 years of my life than I ever did in the last 10 years of my drinking life.
Yeah, which is incredible.
Yeah. And
Does anything Oh, go
sorry. I
on.
wanted to read one quote of,
Yeah.
I wrote this down. So the thing I thought I couldn't live without was actually preventing me from living at all.
Wow.
And that really was powerful to me. I was like, yeah, like I didn't feel like I was living. I was just kind of existing. And now I feel like
Yeah.
I'm living this like new life. I'm living again.
Yeah. Which is a beautiful thing to wake up to every day.
Oh, like I know the person that I'm going to wake up to every day.
Yeah. I was talking with somebody else the other day, and somebody wanted to go and explore moderation, which, like, it's not for me to tell
Yeah.
anybody obviously what they got to do. But I just was thinking life is too short and there's too much to check out to wake up and feel like crap. That's sort of like at the surface level. I mean,
Yeah.
alcohol, I drink again. My life is impacted in many different ways
Hmm.
for me drinking. It's not just waking up feeling like crap in the morning will probably be like one of the easier consequences that I would have to deal with. But I just think that life today and the way I see it is I don't have one day to spare. I don't have one day.
Totally. There is nothing more priceless to me than a regulated nervous system. Like
Yeah.
through chaos, through my kids, throwing food and, we're missing flights. And obviously, I'm running a company. Maybe people are calling out of shifts last minute, which happens all the time. Lovely. I'm still just, my baseline is so low that I'm able to handle everything. I don't live with anxiety anymore. I don't have depression. I haven't had a panic attack since I stopped drinking. So for over 2 years. It's just like that to me is completely priceless. It's so worth it.
Yeah, all of those other changes too. And it comes with time too, right? I mean,
Mhm.
you step away and then you can look back and start to see like the true impact alcohol was having on our lives.
For
And
sure. For sure.
yeah. Yeah, the nervous system, regulated nervous system
Oh,
is just, it's just peaceful. It's just peaceful.
it's, I know. I think I always post on my Instagram, I'm like, this is peace. Like, yeah, when I, to this day, see, I went to a brewery on Friday with my husband for his company. And I had a couple Topo Chicos and, just seeing people like sloshing drinks around it, like it's so chaotic. No judgment, but still for me, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, like for what? For what?
Yeah.
Nothing.
It's it's
Nothing.
very unpredictable.
Unpredictability, maybe getting arrested. Like, not
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, exactly. Just thinking about anybody who's listening and thinking about getting started with sobriety or just needs a little bit of support to keep going. What would you mention to them?
Oh my gosh. I'm the last person that I would ever think that would be sober. And, I would encourage people, if you're having a hard time, but you're not ready for like full blown sobriety, do what I did. Take a month off, take 2 months off. Give yourself small goals because in that newer phase of not drinking, it can be really isolating. It can be very scary. Actually, my anxiety worsened in the beginning because I didn't know how to life without alcohol. So it's definitely scary. But I would just encourage you to do just like small little goals in the beginning and
Yeah.
really just one day at a
Starts.
time.
Yeah, that's beautiful too. Yeah, just to start somewhere.
For
Yeah, I
sure.
mean, start. And then I think even you mentioned too in the 12 days and the 52 days, you started to realize things could be different, kind of get a taste of what it's like.
I didn't know that I could feel this good in those days. I was like, okay, so this is how normal people operate. Like I've been operating like 10% of, what God has given me. What would happen if I operated at 100%? Like who would that person be? And that's been really cool to like find out like I can do stuff. I can sing again if I want to. I can, I'm working on a book, like writing a book. I'm doing all these
Oh,
things
wow.
that when I was drinking, I wasn't even confident enough to think that I could do anything.
Wow. A book? Yeah. Maybe a sober track, sober
Yeah,
song.
it's definitely based around sobriety. My first chapter is called "It's 5 o'clock somewhere." So
Oh, wow. I love it.
yeah,
Cool. Wow. That's
it's got
exciting.
humor in the kind of like dark spaces that are in new sobriety.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I'm excited for that. Anything else you want to mention before we scoot?
Um, no, I mean I love your classes as well. If you guys are listening and wanting to be sober or you're sober curious, Brad, his community is amazing. I highly recommend the sober motivation community. You don't even have to turn on your camera. You don't have to share. You can just listen. A lot of times I just listen with my kids in the background and I'm in my pajamas, and just hearing people's stories really, it gets like pulls on your heartstrings and gives you motivation for the rest of the day or the rest of the week or the rest of the month.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on
Yes,
and
thank
sharing
you so
everything
much
with
for
us.
having me. I'm really grateful.
Well, there it is. Another episode here on the podcast. It was great to have Jordan share. Very relatable, I think, for so many people out there about sort of the journey and, the rock bottom and rock bottom-ish and then turning things around, and just how grateful Jordan is. And I think a lot of us are, to be sober and to just remove so much chaos from our life. I mean, almost naturally, by removing alcohol, making better choices, moving in that direction. A lot of things change. Everything changes. Everything's changed in my life over the years. And as always, thank you for tuning in. If you have not left a review, jump over to Apple or Spotify, drop a 5-star, and I'll see you on the next one.